GMOs are genetically modified organisms whose DNA has been altered by inserting genes for desirable traits from another organism, often of a different species, in order to improve the plant in some capacity. In many cases, a plant is made to have a gene that codes for pest resistance, longer shelf life, and higher yields. For example, Dr. Ibrahim Kwazi Atakople, a lead project investigator for Savannah Agriculture Research Institute, explained, "Each crop has a peculiar problem or problems. The GM sweet potato is addressing the issue of malnutrition within rural folks by increasing the essential amino acids. For rice, we are developing varieties that are tolerant to drought and salinity." There is an argument pro genetically modified organisms. Those in favor of GMOs see it as an extension of human modification of food supply that's occurred for centuries, from cross-pollination to hybridization. Many argue that the increased yields of GM foods will help alleviate hunger and solve food insecurity in Africa and other food insecure regions. In addition, GMOs purportedly have a reduced need for traditional pesticides. Kofi Annan's piece this week exemplifies this belief. He claims that sub-Saharan Africa is the only region in the world where per capita food production has steadily declined. 1/3 of the continent's population is chronically malnourished.
The very idea of GMOs is a death knell for biodiversity. Biodiversity means the integrity of life. GMOs mean appropriating life to own it and patent it. And because there are patents related to GMOs, and the only reasons GMOs are being introduced is to own seeds and collect rents and royalties, corporations push the handful of crops that they have genetically modified.
However, critics of GMOs cite a variety of potential improvement problems, from the unknown effects of health to the international political, social, and economic context in which GMOs operate. The primary health concern is that GMOs sometimes code for proteins similar to those that induce allergies, and there is not enough evidence to prove that they are definitively safe for human consumption. With regards to the environment, critics point out that GMOs perpetuate monocropping, ultimately depleting the soil of its nutrients and reducing genetic variety among the crop species. Likewise, insects frequently grow resistant to the GM plants, meaning more pesticides are required and new seeds sometimes must be created. And GMO's genes sometimes escape from a GM plant and spread to a non-GM plant. Additionally, scientists argue that technology revolutions will not alter the entire state of African agriculture. Rather, this would require numerous rainbow revolutions that address the complexity and diversity of farming. Finally, and perhaps with regards to development in Africa, most importantly, GMO development is monopolized by large Western corporations such as Monsanto and DuPont, creating an unequal relationship of dependency between powerful corporations and small-scale farmers. This latter criticism is of primary concern for many African countries and has GMO critics, like Carol Thompson, arguing not for food security but food sovereignty in Africa. According to the reading, food sovereignty is the right of peoples to healthy and culturally appropriate food produced through ecologically sound and sustainable methods, and their right to define their own food and agricultural systems, rather than being forced to participate in the monocrop industrialized GM agriculture systems of the West. The desire to reduce dependency on the global marketplace, viewed as unfair to African producers and controlled by large corporate interests, has led many African countries to regard GMOs with skepticism and, in some cases, ban them outright.
A quick example of this phenomenon is Ghana, where the debate over GMOs is heated and ongoing. Activists consider genetically manipulated food as a health hazard, neo-colonialist, and a threat to economic and food sovereignty and national security. Last fall, the Ghanaian parliament received a considerable pushback from activists and civilians while considering the Plant Breeders' Right Bill, which would allow for GMO foods to enter the Ghanaian food market. Just this week, the Civil Society Group for Food Sovereignty in Ghana took the Ministry of Food and Agriculture to court seeking an injunction to prevent the ministry from commercializing the sale of genetically modified foods in Ghana. They claim only the National Biosafety Authority, not the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, has the authority to commercialize such products. The Fast Track High Court has ordered the Ministry of Food and Agriculture to halt the production and sale of GMOs in the country. And on to Professor Shiva.
That is why we need to reclaim the seed. That is why we need to get rid of GMOs. That is why we have to stop patenting of life.